Is the person behind the podium really the one holding the pen? We watch the evening news and observe presidents signing executive orders or prime ministers announcing sweeping reforms, yet a persistent whisper suggests that these figures are merely actors on a brightly lit stage. This is the core of the deep state theory, the idea that a permanent, unelected power structure exists beneath the surface of official government. This narrative suggests that while voters change the faces in the windows every 4 years, the foundation of the House remains controlled by a shadow elite. But who exactly are these people, and how could such a vast machine remain hidden for decades? To understand this concept, we must look at the transition from visible governance to the alleged silent bureaucracy that functions without public oversight. This theory posits that the true engines of a nation are the intelligence agencies, military leaders, and financial titans who do not leave their posts when an election ends. They are the constants in a world of political variables. Think about the sheer scale of modern government administration. It is a massive, labyrinthine system of departments and sub-agencies where information is the most valuable currency of all. Opponents of this theory argue that these career bureaucrats possess the power to stall legislation, leak sensitive documents, or even manufacture crises to force an elected leader's hand. Are we witnessing a true democracy, or is the political process just a carefully managed illusion designed to keep the population compliant? The implications are chilling. If this shadow government exists, then your vote might be nothing more than a suggestion to a group of people you have never heard of. This brings us to a crucial point about how deep these roots truly go. If you find these explorations into the hidden corners of power intriguing, please consider subscribing to the channel to help us uncover more of these historical mysteries. Now we must examine the historical precedents that believers often cite as evidence for this invisible hand. They point to events like the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913 or the rise of the military-industrial complex during the Cold War. In his 1961 farewell address, Dwight D. Eisenhower famously warned against the acquisition of unwarranted influence by this very complex. Was he perhaps the first high-ranking whistleblower of the deep state? The theory expands further into the concept of the continuity of government, which are secret protocols designed to keep the state functioning during a nuclear war. Critics of the official narrative ask a haunting question. If a secret government is prepared to take over during a catastrophe, what is stopping them from operating in the shadows during times of peace? Narrative often involves an intricate web of secret societies and international summits like the Bilderberg meeting or the World Economic Forum. Here, the theory suggests that global agendas are set far away from the prying eyes of the electorate. These gatherings are seen not as diplomatic talks, but as board meetings for the planet where elected officials receive their marching orders. Imagine a room where the fate of entire economies is decided over coffee, and the public is only told what they need to know weeks or months later. The shadow government is often described as a self-preserving organism that reacts violently when a politician tries to disrupt the status quo. This leads to the idea of the political outsider being neutralized by the system itself through scandals, legal challenges, or media smear campaigns. Is it possible that the system is designed to protect itself from change? The sheer complexity of this machine is staggering. It involves thousands of unelected officials who hold their positions for 30 or 40 years. They see presidents come and go like seasons, while they remain the keepers of the deep secrets and the masters of the long game. The visual reconstruction of this theory often mirrors a spider web where the threads are made of classified memos and untraceable wire transfers. Every major historical turning point is re-examined through this lens. Was the assassination of John F. Kennedy in 1963 a message sent by this permanent structure to anyone who dared to challenge the intelligence community? Many believe the answer is a resounding yes. The theory suggests that the deep state does not need a single leader because it is a collective consciousness of power that prioritizes its own survival above all else. It is a ghost in the machine that ensures the gears of the military and financial sectors never stop turning. We see the same patterns repeating: wars that never seem to end, debts that continue to climb, and policies that remain identical regardless of which party is in power. Does this mean the political divide is just a distraction to keep us from looking at the men behind the curtain? The narrative of the shadow government is one of the most resilient stories of our time because it explains the feeling of powerlessness that many people experience. It provides a face to the faceless bureaucracy. Whether it is a literal group of conspirators or simply the natural momentum of an oversized government, the impact on our perception of reality is profound. We are left wondering if the hand that rocks the cradle is the same one that signs the treaties. In a world of total surveillance and digital footprints, how could such a structure remain so elusive? Perhaps the greatest trick of the shadow government is making us believe that they are a myth while they operate in plain sight. Every time a policy changes without explanation or a promise is broken without consequence, the whisper of the deep state grows louder. It is a story of ultimate control and the terrifying possibility that we are all just spectators in a game where the rules were written a century ago. We must consider the financial architecture that supports this entire system. Money is the blood of the state, and the control of its supply is the ultimate leverage. For over a century, central banks have operated with a degree of independence that shields them from the whims of the voting public. When a nation goes into debt, who are they actually owing the money to? The deep state theory suggests that this debt is a tool used to keep entire populations in a state of perpetual economic anxiety. It is a form of soft control that ensures the status quo is never truly challenged by a radical alternative. Even when a leader promises to change the economic direction of a country, they often find their hands tied by international markets and banking regulations that they have no power to change. Is this by accident or by design? The visual representation of this power can be found in the massive, windowless buildings that house the data centers of the world. These are the modern temples of the shadow government, where every digital transaction and every personal message is archived for future use. The sheer amount of data collected is so vast that it requires sophisticated artificial intelligence to process and analyze. This technology is the new frontier of the permanent power structure. It allows for a level of predictive policing and social engineering that was once the stuff of science fiction. If you can predict what a population will do before they do it, then you never have to worry about a true revolution. The deep state is not just about keeping secrets, it is about managing the future. We also see this influence in the realm of academia and think tanks. These institutions are the factories of ideas that provide the intellectual justification for the shadow government's policies. They shape the minds of the next generation of leaders, ensuring that the same narrow range of options is always presented as the only logical choice. This is how the consensus is built. It is a subtle form of brainwashing that happens over decades, not days. When everyone in the room shares the same background and the same goals, they do not need a secret meeting to coordinate their actions. They are already moving in the same direction because they have been trained to do so. This creates a self-correcting system that can absorb dissent and turn it into just another part of the spectacle. Think about the way whistleblowers are handled by this machine. They are often marginalized, discredited, or worse, to serve as a warning to anyone else who might consider speaking out. This culture of fear is the glue that holds the various agencies and departments together. It ensures that the secrets stay in the shadows where they belong. The history of the 20th century is littered with examples of operations that were only revealed decades after they occurred. Operation Northwoods, Project MKUltra, and the Iran-Contra affair are just a few glimpses into the hidden world of the deep state. These were not the actions of a few rogue agents, but planned operations sanctioned by the highest levels of the permanent bureaucracy. If these things were happening then, what is happening now that we won't know about for another 50 years? The sense of a hidden hand is everywhere. It is in the way certain topics are suddenly removed from public discussion and the way others are promoted to the point of exhaustion. The deep state is the master of the narrative, using the media and the educational system to define the boundaries of what is considered acceptable thought. If you step outside those boundaries, you are labeled a conspiracy theorist or a threat to national security. But who defines what security actually means? Is it the security of the people or the security of the power structure? As we look closer at the world around us, we see that the state has become a fortress, protected by layers of classification and legal immunity. It is a world where the law applies to the many, but the few are above it. This is the ultimate goal of the shadow government, to create a system where they have all the power and none of the accountability. They are the architects of a new world order that prioritizes stability over liberty and control over transparency. The question is no longer whether such a structure exists, but how much influence it truly has over our daily lives. Every time you pay your taxes, use your credit card, or cast a ballot, you are interacting with a machine that is far larger and more complex than you can imagine. The marionette strings are made of invisible threads, but they are stronger than steel. Are you ready to see the world for what it might truly be? A stage where the actors believe they are in charge, but the director remains in the dark? The truth might be hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to finally cut the cords.